80, 87, no, 80, 84.3 hertz, give or take. Probably 84.4, 84.3. I was right the first time. Randy taught me this technique. The guy's got the ears of an Arctic fox. When I started this whole adventure with the sound shed, I knew that there were going to be some unknowns that I was going to have to tackle when it comes time to working on acoustics. And one of those biggest challenges has been, you guessed it, this giant 4-foot by 8-foot door behind me. It is an all steel door, and to make things worse, it is hollow. That is to say, we just have two steel sheets that are sandwiched together through some type of a skeleton, and I can't pry this door open. The way that it's been manufactured and made, there's these really tight creases that are bound together, and there's weld points, and I can't get this thing cracked open to see what's going on the inside. But I can tell you just by tapping on it, like I was showing in the intro, it's hollow. There is some kind of a small creature on top of the sound shed right now. It sounds like it could be a cat or a small velociraptor. In any event, there's something up there. All right, so steel door, hollow, sandwiched together. There's nothing but air on the inside of that door. That is not true, and we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. This gets good, trust me. It's by far the weakest link in the studio. As I've been working in here and doing things, if I'm in different parts of the studio, it's pretty acoustically sound. I can't hear much on the other side of the wall, but if I'm back over here, right, and this is going to be right behind me in terms of my seating position when I'm listening and critically listening to music, man, I can hear the wind blow out there. I mean, there's just nothing. There's nothing protecting me from the environment outside with this door. It's just awful when it comes to acoustics. So I had this really absurd and crazy idea of, it's hollow. What if I drilled holes in the top of it and I filled it up with kitty litter? What do we got then? And so that's what today's video is we're gonna do exactly that. You know, you can have the best of intentions, and I certainly did. The door is a big problem. I got that part right with the beginning of this video. And where I made a huge mistake is just assuming that by tapping on a door and hearing next to nothing that the door is going to be completely and totally hollow, and I'm just going to have to, drill a couple of holes in the top and then, get some kind of a funnel and fill it up with kitty litter, and life is good and everything is great. The door isn't hollow. It sounded acoustically as if it was hollow, but lo and behold, what this company actually did with that door is they had a giant sheet of styrofoam that was sandwiched inside the door. I know that acetone will just eat up styrofoam, and so I'm like, well, I'm just going to run up to Ace Hardware, grab some acetone, I'm going to pour it in here, and it's going to dissolve all the styrofoam in the door, and then I can fill it up with kitty litter. Thank goodness I slept on it, and I slowed down, and I've made these kinds of mistakes over the years, being a ridiculous audiophile and just making something completely worthless, totally destroying it because I thought that I had all the answers in the world, and I don't. And this is one of those entertaining moments where I realized, I didn't know what I was talking about. As I examined the top of the door and I looked at the way that it's actually fastened together, I could see that it was welded with little spot welds along the seam on the top. And I knew that I could pry off the top piece. It wasn't going to be pretty, and it's not pretty. You can see some damage where I had to go in there and kind of tear off this top plate of this door so I could gain access to what ended up being some hollow sides, about 4 or 5 inches on the sides all the way down. And I also assumed probably a hollow cavity at the very bottom of the door that mimics what I was looking at from the top, which is, again, about 4 or 5 inches. So if you can imagine with me in this giant door, in the middle of it, extending out to about 4 or 5 inches as if it's a frame, right? We have this hollow cavity that we absolutely can and should fill with kitty litter. And so I did that. There was some additional footage that I had of, that I did think through, and I thought it was actually rather clever, is if I was to fill this door up with a bunch of kitty litter, this door is going to be very heavy. And so I ended up installing a caster wheel that's made for like gates, has a spring-loaded mechanism on there so it can ride along the ground. And I installed that on the door, and I thought that was smart. That was the right thing to do in the event where I'm adding mass. I am now looking at this giant metal door that is going to be right behind the listening position, and yes, it is going to be causing a lot of acoustic problems for me. And I knew early on in kind of designing and thinking through the sound shed that first and foremost, absorption is key. And these are the beginning of some bass traps. I actually have them over here to the side and some back there. They're going to be in all 4 corners. These are not complete, right? I just have these sitting where they stand. They're not props. It's just happen to be where they're sitting. And so these are not finished. I will make another video that is going to walk you through complete bass traps and taking those seriously. They're Yesko's design, Acoustic Insider, brilliant guy. If you're not following him or if you're not checking out his channel, I highly recommend it. We'll get to that. What we're going to be discussing today is these bad boys. Now, I knew since I'm going to be dealing with absorption in the room via bass traps and other methods that we're going to get to, I'm also going to be using diffusion. And I think that it's a big mistake that audiophiles make, that they see this, right, whether they're just on the internet or whatever, and they're like, oh man, that looks kick-ass. And it does. This looks really kick-ass. And they're thinking, oh, I'm going to get some diffusers and I'm going to put them up on my walls and I'm good to go. No, you're not. No, I can promise you that if you haven't tackled absorption in the room and you haven't gotten your RT60 reverb times under control across the entire bandwidth, you shouldn't be even looking at diffusion at all. You have a much bigger problem that you need to tackle before you even start looking at diffusion, diffusion concepts and how to use diffusers. Either way, I reached out to a company, it's Sound Assured, and I'll leave all the links that you need down below because I saw these and they're beautiful. And not only are they beautiful, but they're actually really affordable. All wood diffuser and they're lightweight. And that was one of the things that I was like, hey, guess what I'm going to be doing with these diffusers? I'm going to be mounting these to a door, a metal door. And so I needed them to be lightweight. These were perfect for that particular application. And I'm going to be walking you guys through that process in this video. And there's another thing that I'm going to be doing besides just attaching the diffusers. And that is, a lot of you guys have seen this before. Fancy Pants Danny Ritchie and his tube connectors and no res. These will stick onto something and they will not let go, which is one of the things that I love about them. I've used them on my speaker builds that I've done with the Exoticas and the open baffle subs that I have shown on my channel a few times. And so you have this thick damper that is going to adhere to this door. I'm going to cut this up in strips around the diffusers. And then you also have this part of the no res, which is this, this foam, open cell foam, which is going to, again, just help minimize any of the reflections hitting the door. Let's go ahead and talk about getting these things fastened to the door, how I'm going to do it, and we'll move on from there. One of the coolest guys that I've had the privilege of meeting through YouTube is Peter Rawlings, and he does have a YouTube channel.
Hey everybody, it's Peter again.
Just a dear friend of mine and has been a huge help and inspiration as I've been building out the studio. He has, I don't know, 100 years of experience doing this kind of stuff, 40 years, whatever, might as well be 100. And he swears by this stuff. This is Loctite PL3 Premium. It's a construction adhesive. And I had to double check with him, like, hey, is this really the good stuff? Is this really going to keep these diffusers on this door? And he assured me, you bet your ass it's going to. So all that I'm doing right now, guys, is just using this T-square. I've kind of roughed in where this bottom is going to go, where this, top. This is the top of the door, where this top diffuser is going to go. And I think the best plan of action is focusing my attention one at a time. So I'm going to fasten this one with the adhesive onto the door. And then after this thing is set, it's good to go. I know that it's sturdy. I don't need to drill anything in. Then I will work on these other ones. And it's getting pretty late tonight, so I'm just going to work on just this one for tonight. And in the morning we'll check it. We'll see whether or not this sucker is nice and stuck to the door. And then we will move on to the other diffusers, which will be butt up against this one. All right, so he said to use a notch trowel. I don't have a notch trowel, but I do have a trowel that I'm gonna spread this out on. I'm gonna set this over to the side as I start using that. I'll bet you the reason why he said notch trowel is that as you're skimming over all of this, it probably spreads out a lot better than what is happening here. I'll bet you that's why. And I probably should have just taken the time to go get a notch trowel, but I didn't. I'm gonna go for more. I'm gonna add more to it. Because we all know, bigger the glob, the better the job. Let's trowel that out and see how she looks. It's kind of a sticky, tacky stuff. But, yeah. All right. No turning back now, ladies. No turning back now. Oh yeah, I can kind of feel like just that compound is just nice and tacky, sticking right to that door. That's what you want. What I need to do is get some weight on this. And I'm gonna be patient enough to sit out here until it starts to set. Because I don't want, once I get this weight on here, if I just walked away, my fear is that it's gonna start to skate a little bit on me, you know? Even just a little bit. Cardboard, so I'm not damaging this. It's already starting to stiffen up quite a bit. You know, I'm seeing a bit more of a gap up here that than I would like to see. So what I'm going to do is move this brick down here to this bottom section, or actually up to the top, and then I'm going to get another brick. I'm going to put it down here. I thought I was going to need one, but I think I need two. Boy, I picked up this brick, and I thought I saw a black widow in it. It's just a leaf. Make sure we are straight. Yeah, that looks great. Very good. Very, very good. Over here. Is that where I lined her up? No, but it's real close. I'll check the other side. Is that where I lined it up? Yep. All right, we're close enough for country, as my buddy Brendan would say. Tomorrow we will check our work, and if it's good, then we'll add the other two diffusers and keep rolling from there. Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Well, I was laying in bed last night thinking to myself, you know, it really is going to suck if after, I don't know, 2 years, a year, 3 days, if I'm in here critically listening to something and these diffusers come crashing to the ground. I'm sure they're fine. But we're going to make double sure. So I decided to get some self-tapping screws, and we're going to throw these in 4 strategic locations on each of the diffusers, and these aren't going to go anywhere after that. So let's pull off the bricks, fasten this bad boy to the door, and get these other 2 installed. Oh, wow. Okay. Man, that isn't going anywhere. You know what? I'm going to goop up these other ones, throw them down on the door, and I'm going to do some more thinking about those screws. I might not need them. I mean, I'm kind of in shock at, like, that's not going anywhere. Peter, you were right. This stuff is great.
Hey everybody, it's Peter again.
As I was thinking about the self-tapping screws last night, which now I'm kind of on the fence about all over again because this stuff is clearly no joke based on what I'm seeing with that guy, but I decided that I'm going to go a little bit heavier on these next 2 panels. I think I was a little bit too light, too moderate with the adhesive on that first panel, so we're going to do this one right. Stuff is kind of fun to play with. There's something therapeutic about this. That is nice and muddy. Now one thing that I'm going to, oops, sorry about that. One thing that I'm going to do, this is going to be butt up against this one, and that one is going to be butt up against this one. So I'm going to actually do a bead across here so these just sandwich up together. That feels good. I'm digging that. And because this one was already centered, this thing is perfectly straight and centered, we can just move up and we'll be fine. Alrighty, I think what I'm gonna do is get some weight on this one, and then we'll glue up the last one. Nothing, I'm enjoying myself. I've been working on a video since yesterday, and with Peter's recommendation of installing these diffusers on the door, they're wooden diffusers. He's like, what you need is Loctite PL Premium Pro or something like that. Dude, this thing is stuck to this door. It ain't going anywhere.
Are you doing a video update on the shed?
Kind of an update, just more talking about the diffusion on the door, why I'm doing it, and walking people kind of through the process. Video's actually rolling right now. I'm recording right now, so
It's like
yeah.
1.5 bud space, you know, astroturf. That's like, what more do you need than those something and transform it, you know?
Yeah.
It's like that level of good sound.
Yeah.
So
That was my buddy Ryan. Calls me every day to talk about guitar pedals and guitars and amplifiers. I don't mind it because I do like guitar gear a lot. All right. 1, 2, 3. I thought I was going to have room for 4 diffusers. I don't. I have room for 3 diffusers on the door. I thought it was 8 feet. It's not. It's 7 feet. 7 and some change, I think. Not 8 feet. Anyways, 3 diffusers on the door, stuck on here, and next step is going to be cutting no res. So let's take our measurements and cut some no res. Yeah, so if you remember, this is the top of the door. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but where these rivets are, where I basically had to damage this door to get this top plate out so I could fill in the air gap with kitty litter like a real moron. I damaged the door, right? But when I did this and I saw this, I thought, okay, you know what? I'm willing to do this. I'm willing to damage and leave these little rivet marks here because I already knew in my head that I was going to have no res on this door. And I already knew that I wanted to install diffusers on the door. So I thought, you know what? sometimes it's not even about like making mistakes. It's about, well, how can you hide the mistakes that you've made, or, you know, things that you've done that don't look so pretty. How can you then make it look good again? And so we're gonna start at the top. This will be the first piece of no res. It'll take 2 pieces all the way across here. And as I flesh out the rest of the door, we'll see if we have enough no res. But one of the ideas that I had that I'm hoping will kind of make this look pretty is I'm going to try to do some angle cuts on the no res, is what I'm going to try and do. We'll see. And I think that'll look a little bit cleaner, a little bit nicer. We'll see how it goes. Cool, right? Pretty cool. I think now is a good time to mention, for those of you that haven't already had a heart attack, and are typing away on the comments about how I use my table saw. I want you to understand and know that I know my table saw very well. I'm not afraid of my table saw. I do think that fear and being afraid of power tools like that is probably the #1 reason why somebody's going to hurt themselves. Took a long time to learn what I should and shouldn't be doing with it, especially working with something like no res, which cuts literally like butter. I've had it shift and bind up a couple of times, and I know why that happens and where it can happen. Nevertheless, be safe. And if you watch that and you are afraid of everything that you just saw, I would say don't buy a table saw. Have somebody cut your wood or your no-res for you. And easy as that. This looks dope. This looks really cool. All right, so what I'm going to do, take the paperback off these guys like this. Position this in place. And these suckers are going to go on here, and they are not going to come off anytime soon. I can promise you that. No res is very, very sticky stuff. I like it. Boom, just like that. No res is on. So I'm going to do this with the rest of the door, rest of the pieces that I have. I'm not going to make you guys sit through all of this because this video is getting pretty long at this point. I don't want to bore you to death. So yeah, we're cruising along now, man. Gosh, I love no res. It just is so easy to work with. And I'm sure you could actually see when I was cutting it, for those of you that weren't freaking out and going ballistics in the comments section, could see that, boy, it sure does just cut real nice. Real clean, real easy to cut it. It's one of the things I really, really like about it. All right. Let's do the rest of the door. We'll see you soon. Well, I don't know about you, but I think that looks pretty great. So we have all these different sections of the no-res. Cut it at a 25-degree angle for those that are curious. I got my diffusers up. And at this point, you're kind of getting an idea of how the sound shed is sounding, which, minus some really low-end rumble, it's pretty dang quiet. This is gonna destroy our exposure, but wind is blowing, birds. Not bad. Big truck driving by. It's going to be hard to filter out that kind of stuff, but we did it. Thanks for hanging in there. Make sure you like and subscribe if you enjoyed this meaningful content of me rambling for, I don't know, 20 plus minutes, 30 minutes. I don't even know. Love these. I will leave links down below. They will be affiliate links through Amazon. So if you click on the link, I will get a small commission. If you don't want to do it, that's fine. You can go straight to Sound Assured and buy them from there if you want. I like these a lot. These are fantastic. Highly recommended. Very affordable. No res. It's amazing. Great stuff. Easy to work with. All right. That's how we fixed the door to the sound shed.